So I graduated high school at 18, and life kind of felt like the beginning of a game of life where you had two options. A lot of my friends and peers were going off to college, but at that time I didn't, one, feel like I knew what I wanted to do in college, and two, it felt like it was not going to have the return on that investment that everybody thought it would have. And here I am 6-7 years later, and that was absolutely true. And so I started working right out of high school. So I thought, well, my friends are going and getting into debt. Let me go out there and try to make some sort of income. So I started off working at Chick-fil-A. I worked there for a few months, and then my passion in cars started to grow. And so I decided that I wanted to look into the auto industry. So I started out as a general technician at a small auto shop in the town that I lived in. And I worked there for about 9 months and quickly realized that I was starting to lose my passion for the hobby, because what I was doing for my career was drawing away the enjoyment of that hobby. So I moved on from there, and so I was 19 at the time, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And so in late fall of that year, I decided that I wanted to look into electricals. So I was looking at different trades, and there was a trade school program in my town for electricals. So I started taking classes and working in the electrical industry because I needed to have the on-the-job hours aspect of that schooling. And so I did that, and I started off, in about 5 months in, COVID hit. And so I was no longer able to continue to go to school in that area, and the company that I worked for ended up laying me off. Now that ended up being beneficial. Unemployment benefits for that time were a lot better than I would have ever imagined. Of course, they were doing a lot of different relief packages at that time. And so I was collecting unemployment, continuing to apply for jobs in the electrical industry. Specifically, I ended up landing a job working at a solar farm in August, and thankfully that I landed that job right as my unemployment benefits were running out. So I started working there. I was working about 11 hours a day. I was working weeks on end, not days, weeks. And so I did that for about 3 months. And I unfortunately was laid off due to company downsizing. So they said that they were doing layoffs due to COVID downsizing. Also, the project was nearing its completion. So I had bought a car, so I had a car payment. I was still living at home with my parents at the time. And so I started door dashing. Little did I know that was probably the top of the DoorDash service type of job cycle. So I did that for two and a half months. And so that carried me from essentially Thanksgiving into early January. After I did that, I had a friend who was looking into going into the trucking industry. And so he started his CDL school. I wasn't exactly sure if that was something that I wanted to acquire for myself, but what I ended up doing was I received my stimulus check, and it was just enough money combined with my tax return for that year to pay for me to go through trucking school. Now, in the state of Virginia, where I currently live, they were offering, at least at that time, a workforce grant to where they would pay for 2/3 of the cost of going and getting your CDL, which was $5,000. So it ended up only being $1,300 for me to pay out of pocket, something around that price. And so I had received a $1,200 stimulus check, so I just put a little bit of my own money from my tax return into that and started going to trucking school. And so I started going from trucking school full time. Now at that time it took a lot longer to go through trucking school just because of COVID, and so I was going to school from 7 to 4 7 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon, and then I'd get off, I'd drive home, take a shower, and then I would work from 6 to midnight. So that way I could continue to have an income while I was in school. Now, thankfully, I had the support of my family, so I was able to live at home during that period. And so a few months later, my CDL showed up in the mail, and I've been truck driving ever since. And that first year that I had my CDL, I went from making $12,000 to making $56,000 my first year as a truck driver. And that was a massive, massive blessing and a massive increase. And due to the trucking industry and what it's been able to provide for me, I've been able to get married. I got married at 22 years old. I also had my daughter at 22 years old, and I'm in a position to where I make really good money. I work at a really, really great company, and I'm able to be home with my family every night, and I get my weekends off, paid holidays, that kind of stuff. And so I definitely have had to pay my dues in the trucking industry. Not everybody is able to, come straight out of school and land a local job. That's probably not realistic for most people. Most people are going to have to go to one of those first companies that are called starter companies in the industry. Your Snyder, Werner, Swift. I know, Swift. But those types of companies are where a lot of people are going to start off. And there's reasons for that. And then I'll get into that in other videos that I would like to make for this channel. But I wanted to share that with you so that you don't feel discouraged in this current environment. I know that there has been political turmoil, there has been financial and economic upheaval, and people are starting to hear of these companies laying more and more people off. And one thing that I always recommend is look at the trades. Don't take these things for granted. These are the industries that move this country forward. And think about back during COVID, what jobs were considered essential versus non-essential. And look to put yourself into a position where you can be working at least in those industries, if not directly in those trades. Because when these economic upheavals come, those are the industries that are typically the least affected. So trucking is a really good industry to look into, electrical, HVAC. These are things that, regardless of where we're headed, those things still need to get done. And so I would always recommend looking into getting into the trades. I hope you guys like this video. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment down in the comment section below if there is a subject that you would like me to talk about when it comes to my experiences in the trade. If you're in the trades, let me know down in the description what you're doing. So thank you guys again for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.